Here I have my demo account. One of my favorite pro tips is that if you click the logo in the upper left-hand corner here, that's a quick jump back to your activity logs. That's always helpful. Okay, so most everything we covered is under the numbers tab today. So I already showed you the by numbers interface. I think that's pretty straightforward. And then here we have the tracking numbers. So this is where I always say is my favorite view. What I like about this view is it really tells you the full story of how this setup should operate. So in this case, I can see that this tracking number is not fully configured. So I could come in here and edit this. One, I'm a big fan of adding descriptions. A lot of our clients start with us pretty small. Maybe in their first year, they have, maybe 10 to 100 tracking numbers with us. But then when they're with us for, 5, 6 years, that tracking number count gets so large and it can be a little hard to manage. So it's definitely best to include descriptions so that when you are working with that large number of tracking numbers, you can easily identify what that one is being used for. So definitely a good habit to get into early on. So I might call this website, oops. There we go, website traffic. Then from the setup, I can decide where I want this to ring. So in this case, I have it ringing a voice menu, but maybe I want it to dial a receiving number. So here's how I can add receiving numbers. I can actually add multiple receiving numbers. And this is where I can say, do I want it to dial sequentially, simultaneously, round robin? So we're going to give you a few options here. You're going down that route. Also, as you see, there's a lot of different routing options. So we're not going to get into all of those quite today. But you could have it dial an agent. And, maybe I want this to dial me directly. So I can just say, ring my soft phone. You can have text route differently. So next I want to select my source. I'll just say website. And if it is an on-site tracking, we want to assign a target number. So this would be the phone number on our website that the tracking code is looking for to replace with this target number. And one thing that's important to note is you can have multiple target numbers. So there's no harm in doing this. So if I'm not sure exactly which one is on my page, I could just come like this, and that way it's going to swap for all of them. So I can hit save here. So now if I come back to my tracking numbers, you'll see that I now have this source all set up. And again, it's going to tell me under this view, I can know exactly what's happening. So anytime this phone number is dialed, I know that the source will be website. It will be ringing my user directly to my cell phone, should be replacing this target number, as well as I can see what call settings group it's assigned to, the renewal cost, the rate cost, and whether or not this is an active tracking number. So yeah, under the tracking number view, it really tells the full picture of how that individual number should operate. One of the things that I say a lot is that when you're brand new with CTM and building your account, it's very much like putting a puzzle together in the sense that it doesn't really matter what order you put it together. It's just in the end, you need to ensure that all the pieces are connected. So I just showed you under the tracking number how you can add a source and the target number to it. But under the source, you can assign a tracking number. Under the target, you can assign the tracking number. So you can link things up in multiple ways. So that is the tracking number. So next, I'm going to jump down to the tracking source. So I'm going to come here and select new tracking source. Now, the big thing that I would really recommend for everyone is to use our presets. So presets are going to be pre-configured settings for you. So basically, we've already done the work. And you'll find this in most of our configurations. So here we are in tracking sources. And if I wanted a preset for Google Ads, it's probably one of our most common. I can select that. It's going to name it. It's going to add the description. It's going to set the type to our site, which is going to say, we should swap. And then when I scroll down, this is going to be the condition. So this is going to be where we apply the logic that says when we should swap for this source. So in the case of Google Ads, we're going to be looking for a few things. And this might be a little intimidating, but in this case, we're looking for the source of Google with the medium of CPC, or this is regular expression, but what this little pipe means is or. So we're saying in the presence of the source being Google, the medium being CPC, or it having a G-CLID, or it having a W-braid or a G-braid. So this is going to be written in with Google's auto tagging. And these last two are going to be the auto tagging on a ISO device. So those are all a little bit more advanced, but that's how it's going to read of what our tracking code is looking for to show this source. Now, one that's a little bit more simplistic would be something like Facebook. So this is going to say that the user came from Facebook to your website, and that's how we're going to know to show this source, and then whatever phone number is associated with that source. So again, I would always recommend starting with a preset, and then you can further customize it from there if need be, or even something like print. You can start with that, and then maybe you want to fine tune it that says, this is a flyer for a mailer or something. So you can use our presets even just as a starting point and then fine tune them from there. So that is tracking sources. And again, this is where you can assign tracking numbers to the source if you are creating it brand new. It doesn't matter which way you connect them. You just want to ensure in the end that they are all connected. All right. So under the dynamic, we also had the target number. So this is pretty easy. In here, you'll just type in the number on your website, and then you can, again, add the tracking numbers to it. So I could come in here, and I could say, landing page. This is where I would set the match type. And then you just simply put the phone number in that it's looking for. So maybe I have 85555. 000. If that's the phone number on my site, I just hit save there. And then down here, I can take whatever tracking numbers I have and assign it to that target number. Okay, so then lastly, under the dynamic portion here, we have the tracking code. So this is going to be unique for every sub account. So, and what we'll notice is, this is a little snippet. It's what's nice is it is set and forget. As you put this on your page and make changes in your account, this will automatically adapt to that. But you can see that this number right here is actually my account ID. So if we look in the upper right-hand corner, those are going to coincide. So that's why you always want to be careful when you're adding the tracking code to the page to ensure that you have the proper one for the sub account you're working in. We do have a lot of clients that have maybe 600 different sub accounts. So if you are working with those type of quantities, you might just want to take a second and double check that the code you're putting on the page is the correct one for that sub account. All right, and then lastly, we have the receiving number. So again, all of our tracking numbers are going to need an endpoint to ring to. So a receiving number is simply just saying where we should be directing that phone call. So if I wanted to do a new receiving number, it's as simple as coming in here. I can just type it in direct. And then again, I would always recommend putting a description in, because as you grow in your account and with CTM, the more details you can provide up front is just going to make maintaining the account in the long run that much easier. All right, so again, my favorite place to view the setup is going to be under the tracking number view, just because again, it gives you a nice it tells a good story of exactly how each tracking number is going to operate. And then I'll show you one other little gem in here is we have a call routing and visual if you're more of a visual person. So this is pretty straightforward, but if this number is dialed, it's ringing my agent. Let me see, I probably have one that's a little bit more complicated. So here's one where it's going to a voice menu. So let's look at that. So this is going to a voice menu and then the voicemail. So we have one a little bit more complicated. This one's going to go to a queue. A smart router. This might be a little better. Here you go. So in this case, this call is going to come into this language preference, and you can see all the different possible routes that this call could possibly take. So again, it could be as simple as a one-to-one, or you can create a pretty complex and elaborate routing system. So with that, we've really covered and defined our core concepts. Do we have any questions?